It's all morning, and it's a beautiful Saturday morning. Absolutely cool. I had a good sleep, probably about 7 hours, and I guess it's just a wee reflection. I was thinking today because it was my anniversary with my wife of 17 years. And we were just thinking to ourselves, blinking heck, 17 years. And it feels like 7 or 9 years or something, not 17 years. And there was a period of our life which it feels like went very fast, where we were working really hard and, cracking on with things to try and get on our feet more and stuff like that. And it's strange, how time flies, But also, I guess I was thinking about some of the reflections of what's made that happen in some ways, and there's all sorts of manner of things. There's probably a list of 100 things that have contributed to things, and all sorts of learning in relationships, and every relationship's slightly different, I think, and every person's slightly different, but some things, some reflections from that are that commitment to each other through the difficult things, difficult times, is really important, and also those common goals and common philosophies about certain things is really important. So that might be, working towards certain things, or so it might be, and also negotiation, so it's negotiating things and compromise sometimes a wee bit is really important. But also things like being kind of considerate of the other person and how they're feeling. So, noticing how they're feeling and things like that. Thinking about what you can do to, positively influence that, potentially. And with that in mind, because it's not that it's always been clean and plain sailing, obviously, and still there'll be times that we disagree on things and all of that. But there's that aspect of what I've noticed is, and what I've found is often helpful, but not always the case, is that there's this element of taking ownership, So if you want to see something improve, it is noticing what influence I'm having over the situation, What impact am I having on the situation, positively or negatively? And there's a lot to be said for that. So it's kind of like starting with yourself if you're not happy about something, and trying to improve how you're or I'm behaving or being myself, and what I've tended to notice over the years is, if I work on myself and try and improve that, everything else seems to improve as well, everything else becomes easier, So if I regulate my emotional state, with some techniques, or if I look after myself, self-care wise, do my exercise and other stuff, then that has a positive influence on everyone else, So it's this thing of looking after yourself and also regulating your own emotional state and doing what you need to do to make that happen, can then have this positive cascade on everyone else as well, Because often I see it, where everybody not everybody, but often people come up with this thing of, oh, this, you know, they're not happy about this or that or this other thing. And sometimes that might be valid, and it probably is, but there is this aspect of, I've noticed personally anyway, and also I've noticed with a lot of clients, it's kind of like, well, what things are we doing, or am I doing, that might be contributing to things, you know? And it's not always the case with things, but it's definitely something where, you know, it might be things like if I constantly had a negative dialogue about certain things, or was critical of my partner or other things all the time, then that's likely to have a cascade effect. And it's kind of like, if you want to get positive comments back from somebody, then you need to give positive comments, don't you? Generally. And so it's being attentive to people, showing affection. Yeah, it's this idea of showing by example what you want, and also you know, reducing the threat in the whole relationship of, like, you know, things like tone of voice and you know, making people feel comfortable more. You know, if there's high expressed emotion, fair enough, but there's an element of high expressed emotion means that the other person's going to have more high expressed emotion as well, you know. So it is that thing of thinking about how we influence things. It's a really tough subject to talk about, because every relationship's different and every individual tends to be different, but it is noticing what's happened, you know, in an objective sense, and thinking, well, within that was, you know, when it comes to conflicts and even others, the whole plethora of things, it's kind of like, well, what are the things that kind of lead up to that? So is there stages to things? Was there things that I could have done or said differently? You know, because there is this element of taking ownership of things, you know, and also being calm and being clear about things sometimes as well. But obviously having boundaries and things like that, and every relationship's different, but I'm just thinking about what's been useful, and I think one of the most useful things that I've found over time has been taking personal ownership of what I say and what my behaviour is, and what I'm kind of putting out there into the relationship. And what I've noticed is that the more that people tend to take ownership of what they're saying, how they're behaving, that has a positive cascade into their relationships, into their experience of life, you know. And that takes being objective, noticing when I've been at fault, and you know, trying to amend that, and seeing how that goes. And that can form little experiments, you know. It might be that you need to do some self-regulation. I need to do some self-regulation work sometimes, and think about, right, well, that is annoying to me, but I'm going to do this instead. And it's kind of little behavioural experiments and trying new things and seeing how they work, you know. You know, and appreciating people, you know. So showing appreciation, and yeah, showing appreciation, really. But anyway, so many things that are involved in relationship stuff. But there's that element of taking ownership, showing appreciation, doing little experiments on your own behaviour and how you what you think, what you're saying, and how you behave. Because there is this very real aspect of, if you don't emotionally regulate yourself with techniques or self-care stuff, there is this very real thing of, like, we give off stress hormones, you know, and we, you know, have this cascade effect on our family. It is my opinion on things, or not, or even our family, anyone around us in some ways. We get the sense of what somebody's mood is and all of that. So it's really important to try and recognize that and think to ourselves, well, how am I influencing this situation, and can I do something to look after myself better, get myself into a calm, relaxed state, and notice what the outcome of that is, you know. But anyway, have a great one, and good luck with whatever you're working on, and yeah, just I guess it's this gratitude aspect as well, and noticing and appreciating things that, you know, your partner does, if they are doing something nice and positive. And you know, there's this aspect of you know, I appreciate all the efforts that my wife's put in, and all of the patience that she's had with me. I guess the patience I've had with her, but there's something to be said for shared goals, appreciation being shown, and affection being shown, and also being conscious of how we speak and how we behave to each other. But anyway, take care for now.